Okay, it's all kicking off, you guys. Happy Thursday. Happy Thursday. Apparently, Pierre Poilievre has just lost another MP. Wow. Oh, my goodness. Uh, Micheal Ma, MP for Markham Unionville, has just crossed the floor. He is now a liberal. This is wild. I remember we had this discussion and I said, God, God forbid, another MP crosses from the Conservatives to the Liberals. We're approaching a crisis for Pierre Poilievre if he wasn't already in a crisis. Well, now he could be the guy. He could be the guy that will gift the Liberals a majority that the electorate did not give them. He could really gift the Liberals a majority without an election. That is absolutely crazy to me. It is absolutely crazy to me. And this happened today. If you have not seen it, wow, where have you been? Where have you been? Who's watching tonight? Usually I'm not live on a Thursday, but as I always tell you guys, when something crazy happens, I will be live, right? I was just getting in from work, and I saw this. I was like, what the hell is going on? What is going on? Now that leaves the liberals one person. The liberals now need one more seat to get majority without an election. That is wild. That is wild. Hello, hello, Abby. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Braveheart says, howdy. Howdy, Braveheart. Howdy, Braveheart. Wow, what is going on, you guys? How are you guys receiving this news? Apparently, Conservative MP, another Conservative MP, Micheal Ma, has just crossed the floor from the Conservatives to the Liberals. Get in the comments. Let me know. How are we feeling about this? How are we feeling about this? Because this is completely bonkers, guys. This is completely bonkers. Abby says, poor PP, I really like him. Well, I don't know what's going on in his caucus. Micheal Ma now joins Chris Tremont, who left earlier, MP for Acadie Annapolis in Nova Scotia. He joins Matt Generou did not cross the floor, but he is effectively in politics. What is going on in the Conservative Party? What is going on? And is this the long goodbye? I think I've said this before on one of these live shows. I said, is this the long goodbye for Pierre Poilievre? Is this the long goodbye? I know there are many people who I mean, this is one of the beauties. This is one of the beautiful things about the conservatives. Conservatives are very loyal, right? Not gonna easily turn their backs on Pierre Poilievre. That's just the fact, right? But at the time, I'd ask people if Pierre Poilievre is not going to be capable of defeating McCartney, as it is increasingly looking every day, what is the point? And again, again, like he has been outsmarted again. Now, I want to read what Micheal Ma put out there after his resignation today. He said after crossing the floor today, Micheal Ma says, after listening carefully to the people of Markham Unionville in recent weeks and reflecting with my family on the direction of our country, I have informed the Speaker and the Leader of the Opposition that I will be joining the Prime Minister Marconi in the government caucus. This is a time for unity and decisive action for Canada's future. I came to Canada at 12 years old as the youngest of seven, quickly learning the importance of hard work and resilience. Those values, building up others, those values, building up others, delivering results, and choosing a path that creates opportunity have guided me throughout my career in business and now as a member of parliament. In that spirit, I have concluded that Prime Minister Marconi is offering the steady, practical approach we need to deliver on the priorities I hear every day while door knocking in Markham Unionville. That includes making life more affordable, growing a strong Canadian economy, strengthening community safety, and creating real opportunities for young people and families who are working hard to build their Canadian dream. I entered public service to help people, to focus on solutions, not division. That one's a special swipe at Pierre Poilievre there. Anyways, I entered public service to help people to focus on solutions, not division. I look forward to working with Prime Minister Carney to make sure that Markham Unionville and all of Canada can move forward with confidence and build a stronger, safer, more prosperous future. Oh my God. Michael Gauthier says, one seat away from being a Marxism country. That is the wild thing going on here. That is absolutely wild. And you're right. Not about the Marxism country bit, but about in your comments saying one seat away from a majority of Makani without the consent or the permission of the electorate. We didn't vote for a liberal majority. We voted a liberal minority. And here we are, not even a year later, Poilievre is about to gift, absolutely gift wrap, with all the trimmings, gift wrap the liberals a majority. What the hell is going on? You guys get in the comments. Tell me how are you feeling about this. I've got reaction here from Poilievre actually, because I've been working the phone since I got back from work. I was like, what the hell is going on? Pierre Poilievre said Micheal Ma was elected. This is his official statements as pulled on X. Poilievre says Micheal Ma was elected as a conservative by the constituents of Markham Unionville to fight against liberal inflationary spending, driving up the cost of living in this community. Today, he chose to endorse the very policies he was elected to oppose, the same policies driving up food prices, making life more expensive for all. People, the people he let down the most are the ones who elected him to fight for an affordable future. No, the people he let down the most are the ones who elected him to fight for an affordable future. He will have to answer to them, and he will, along with Christian Tremont and whoever chooses to cross the floor. That is what comes with the territory when you cross the floor. How are you guys feeling about this? Get in the comments. This is absolutely crazy. Like it's all going off. Now, when Abby says entered public life to help people, what a load of bullshit. These people with some of their laws are out of touch. I'm sure the salary and other perks don't help make him a politician. Oh my goodness. I mean, there's some people with there've been lots of funny comments actually. Like a lot of people have been saying on 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 social media, check his bank account. I mean, come on, guys, come on, guys. Now, how much of this do you guys think is actually a reflection of Pierre Poilievre? And there's a lot of talk has been. I mean, a lot of people have talked about his leadership style. How much of this is a reflection of Pierre Poilievre? How much of this is a reflection of Pierre Poilievre? And who's willing to bet that there is one more person willing to cross the floor and actually give the Liberals a majority? Do you think there will be more crossings? Because I think it's entirely possible. I think it is entirely possible. In fact, I'll tell you my timeline. It is now becoming a pattern. I don't know if you guys have spotted this pattern. Meanwhile, before I get into the pattern here, Abby says PP needs to stop saying affordable future. He needs a new slang because his other conservatives don't buy into it. They are jumping ship this quick. No, it's not about the fact that people don't agree with the concept, with the fact that Pierre Poilievre believes in an affordable future. I don't doubt that that is true. The problem seems to be that, I mean, time and time again, it seems to be coming up that people are saying that the Conservative Party under Pierre Poilievre is more focused on gimmicks than they are on practical solutions. And I mean, it's been said repeatedly now, especially from people of liberal persuasion, that there are several policies being put in front, being put in place, right, and being tabled in Parliament right now, which are basically in step with some of the things that the Conservatives have asked for years, right, right, and so for them, this would be the time to actually work with the government, is what you hear on the streets, and yet, the Conservatives, just as I said, the word you hear on the streets is that the Conservatives continue to hinder even things that they are supposed to support, maybe like a pipeline, maybe like action on crime, and all those things. So I want to ask you guys, and you guys, this is my first question for you today. Get in the comments. How much of this is a reflection of Pierre Poilievre? That's what I want to know. How much of this is a reflection of Pierre Poilievre? And I'm gonna read you. So I'm gonna read you some reaction off Reddit actually, because and while you guys prepare your reactions here, maybe this sparks something for you. Uh, so this is from the subreddit R Canada, and it says, so if my math is right, they only need one more now, and then and the person responds correct. The next person to cross the aisle will probably be promised the world by the liberals. That he would, if it's a man. Also could be a woman. I don't know. Braveheart says, you did say that PP is done. I did. I told you guys that Pierre Poilievre is done. And me saying that Pierre Poilievre was done, it's not based on the fact that I believe Pierre Poilievre is less popular than he was 6 months ago. Maybe he is actually. I'm sure the polls probably say he is less popular. But I don't think that his problem is his base, essentially. The problem Pierre Polyev has is that I don't think, in my opinion, that he is capable of preparing a strategy that can defeat the liberals, the corny liberals specifically. He can defeat maybe a Trudeau style liberal, but he has zero answers to the corny liberals. He has had zero answers from day one. Zero. Absolutely nada. Get to your comments here. Braveheart says, whether it is PP's fault or not, it's his leadership and it is all his fault. And that is what you see in these statements. Chris Dontremont had a similar thing in his statement when he said he feels like the the conservatives under Pierre Poilievre are too focused on division, too focused on gimmicks. That is, you're seeing the same elements of, but of course they would say that because they're crossing the floor, right? They would say that, but it is increasingly becoming. This is increasingly becoming a commentary on Pierre Poilievre's leadership. I was going to tell you about the pattern I've been noticing. I'll get to that now. Have you noticed that every time there is a big event coming, so for example, the first floor crossing was around budget, right? Chris Dontremont crossed the floor, and then you saw Matt General also follow suit during the budget votes. And right now, today actually was the last day of the fall sitting of Parliament, and this happens. Now, I'm going to be the first to predict it. You're not going to see this anywhere else. I'm going to be the first to predict that sometime around Pierre Poilievre's leadership review, there will be another floor crossing. I'm going to predict that. I'm going to put that out there right now. Mark my words, sometime around Pierre Poilievre's leadership review, there will be another floor crossing from the Conservatives, especially if the Conservatives keep Pierre Poilievre on as leader. There will be another floor crossing. I'm saying it now. I'm saying it now. Now, personally, Abby says, somebody tell me how McCartney is dismantling the Conservatives and seemingly winning when he has not delivered on anything he promised. You know what? That is a great comment. That is a perfect comment because, yes, McCartney has made a lot of announcements. He has made a lot of promises. But to this point, I can't say that Pierre Poilievre has delivered at the pace that and all the frequency or on the big files that he promised. No, there's no trade deal. These nation building projects are slow as fuck. We're not moving at the pace at the pace on previously unimagined. You know, and right now, the liberals are blaming, they've been blaming the conservatives, saying the conservatives have not been cooperating in parliament, in committee, I mean. And, you know, this, like, how is Poilievre giving up hemorrhaging MPs to this liberal government? This liberal government that has not yet, as of yet, while they are doing a lot of things, has not yet delivered on the core things that they promised. How is that happening? Like that is an that is criminal. Absolutely criminal. Anyways, you guys get in comments. I want to hear your thoughts tonight. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts about this. Um, as I read, this person says on Reddit, $10 says Pierre Poilievre is the next one to cross the floor. Oh boy. Oh, Mary Campbell. Mary Campbell says, I can't believe people watch this. People watch this thing. Spend your money. Your grandchildren will suffer, and good for all of you because you voted for this corruption. Not okay. Okay. All right. Good. Thank you for the comment, Mary Campbell, whatever that means. I'm not sure where you were going there. Uh, Abby says Canadians should wake up and put McCartney on the hot seat. I think McCartney's on the hot seat. I don't think anybody's slacking off on McCartney. I don't think anybody's slacking off on McCartney. You then go on to say, I think these are distractions, and poor PP is a clown to be used for the distraction. Wow. Coherent array waiver says LOL. What are you laughing at there, man? What are you laughing at there? Nah, this is crazy. This is crazy. And this is important because Poilievre's leadership review is coming at the end of January. And I've just told you guys, I think that there will be a floor crossing right around that time. Now, I don't think the liberals, personally, I don't think the liberals. Okay, so coherent array waiver says if he's lucky to get a majority before elections, it would be criminal. It would be absolutely criminal if Pierre Poilievre gives McCartney a majority without elections. It would be absolutely criminal. I would be so mad about this. I'm not even gonna lie. I would be so mad about this because I don't know. There's a certain look to that. I would like to see McCartney have to earn his majority, not being given a majority on the plate by Pierre Poilievre. I would like to see him earn that. I'd like to see him earn that, you know? Anyways, where was I? Yeah. Abby says McCartney is having a fun time as the prime minister. When you campaign on something and you have not delivered, and it is not the main thing on the news right now, it is something. It is something. That's my point. But Poilievre's leadership review is coming. It's going to be sometime at the end of January. I don't. If I were a liberal, here's what I would do about this. I would not push for Pierre Poilievre to. I would not push for that floor crossing to happen before Pierre Poilievre's review. Personally, that's just. If I was advising the liberals, I wouldn't push for Pierre Poilievre to for a floor crossing before that leadership review. And I'll tell you why I say that. And I'll tell and I'll coherent array waiver says Mahoney doesn't have to do anything. I hope. And and maybe he won't, especially if you give him a majority. This is why you do not give him a majority. Now, I don't think that the liberals should push for a floor crosser before Pierre Poilievre's leadership review. If I was in their camp, this is what I would say. And here's why. Pierre Poilievre, in some regard, is the perfect opposition for the Carney liberals. The Carney liberals, they, I'm sure they absolutely love Pierre Poilievre in opposition because when it comes one on one against McCartney in terms of who is the preferred leader of Canada, most people are just sitting there and like McCartney is essentially, I think it was 28 points the differential between McCartney and Pierre Poilievre in terms of the preferred prime minister of Canada. So why should the liberals want Pierre Poilievre gone and for somebody else to take his place? Somebody who's 1v1 versus McCartney is less certain. Why would they push for that? So honestly, if I was the liberals, I would say let Pierre Poilievre pass his leadership review. When he passes the leadership review, then you can have that floor crossing. You know, the leadership review is done. I'm sure they can't have two leadership reviews in the space of 3 months. You know, and Pierre Poilievre is not going to resign. If I were a liberal, I would do my best to allow Pierre Poilievre to remain in opposition. I mean, they can always source the remaining votes that they need from a person like, I don't know, Elizabeth May or something. Because I know she says today she won't support the liberals. You know, they can't count on her for future confidence votes. But we've heard that before, haven't we? Uh, Coherent Array Waiver says much easier than doing anything. Oh, McCartney doesn't have to do anything. Just get more floor crosses. Much easier than doing anything because he can. Oh boy, oh boy. McCartney has to be one of the. I mean, it's either luck or the strategy, and this is something I've pointed to in the past. The strategy machine, you got to give it up to the liberal strategy machine or their propaganda machine, whatever the machine is. They know how to win, and they so far they have outsmarted the Poilievre strategy team at every friggin' turn. At every fucking turn, they have outsmarted Poilievre's team. It is wild to me. It is absolutely crazy. From changing the narrative on the election, knowing that Poilievre couldn't respond, to guess. Oh, this is wild too. Think about it. I said this when the budget passed. The the liberals could have avoided an election just based on the conservative abstentions. So essentially, the conservatives propped up the liberals willingly. I bet Napoleon probably realizes that was a mistake now. And I said this at the time. It was a mistake. He should have allowed the NDP to make that decision. He should have let the NDP or the Bloc or whoever else make that decision. But he said at the time, oh, at the time, everybody could agree that Canadians did not want an election. But I don't think Canadians would have punished Pierre Poilievre. I don't think the Canadians would have punished Pierre Poilievre if the Conservatives voted against the budgets. I think he had reasonable grounds to vote against the budget, you know? And instead, he gave McCartney and the Liberals the abstentions they needed to, to pass their budget. They did not, I say this fact, they did not need the NDP to abstain in order to pass their budget. Crazy, right? Let me get back to your comments. Oh my, where was I? Where did I stop? Okay, Abi says of all the previous party leaders that PP helped implode their careers with frustration cooking, I think PP needs to go. Then the leader of the bloc needs to go. Out with all the old. Oh boy. Yeah. I guess. I don't even know. Oh. Coherent array waiver says 100% useless advisors. That's what I was saying. I don't think the people are. If Pierre Poilievre has advisors around him that he listens to, they all need to go, man. They all need to go. They all need to go because I don't know how the fuck they fumbled a 20 point lead in an election, and they have sat there as they have hemorrhaged. They're hemorrhaging MPs now. I I can like nah. Whoever is doing the strategy for the Conservative Party, and if it is Pierre Poilievre, I think he has to go then, right? If is truly the mind that he's getting fucking played, guys. Anyways, where was I? Yeah. So coherent array waiver says great leader, useless advisors. Yeah. Somebody needs to get in there and put that house in order. The like I'm gonna all hands up. I want to see a great opposition party in this country because I think as Canadians we will all be better for it. We will all be better for a better opposition party because right now I'm looking at the table and looking at what the Liberals have delivered. They really haven't actually delivered as much as they made a lot of announcements, but they really haven't delivered as much as you would think, right? And certainly not at the pace that they promised people. A pace not seen for generations. They said that's not what we're seeing, guys. Anyways, I want to get back to your comments here. Lawrence Jeffrey says pawn job tears are falling like rain in BC. What are you talking about, con job tears? What are you talking about, con job tears? Oh, Lawrence Jeffrey says Pepe La Pew. Pepe Le Pew revising his resume. Yeah, I've said this, and I said this months ago, like maybe like for I've been saying this for a month or two now. I think he's done, and not because he's not popular in his base. Pierre Poilievre remains very very popular in his base. The problem Pierre Poilievre has is I don't think he's capable of defeating the Carney-led liberals. I don't think he is. I don't think they have the strategy behind him, and I don't think he has the temperament, if you like, to defeat the Carney-led liberals. Those are the signs I have seen, and it seems that his inability to change tact or change strategy is costing him now because his MPs, people who were in the trenches with him during the election, are now leaving because they're like, you know what? There's only so many games, and there's only so many games these guys want to play. These are it's crazy. Anyways, let me leave it there. I want to catch up on your comments. Abby says conservatives need to fire all their political analysts. That they do. To be fair, I think the conservatives actually just got a new campaign manager for Poilievre. Maybe that guy needs to be fired too. They disappointed. They disappointed the guy, but maybe he needs to be fired. Who fucking knows? Man, Lawrence Jeffrey says, Paperboy MP Harper Shield. Why are you coming after my boy PP? Why are you coming after PP, Lawrence? What what is this? Douglas Rose Beer. I want. Hopefully, I haven't butchered your name too badly there. Douglas says Canada was so much better 15 years ago. It's scary. Yes, I think I don't know. I wasn't Canadian 15 years ago to be fair. Um, but Lawrence Jeffrey says sending my old shoe shine to Pepe La Polina. Who started this whole Pepe La Poliev thing? Actually, I don't even know where that came from. But I know. What's his name? There's this guy on TikTok, this creator on TikTok that calls him that all the time. I don't know where that came from. Anyways, um, Douglas says Polyev is the only reasonable leader. I mean, we've had a separatist party on the federal ballots for decades, and we are more divided than ever right now. Great job, government. Now, why? Uh, and maybe, and you're right. We are more divided. We are more divided than ever. And I don't know. Maybe, and here's something. This is something I've said before. I think if I was the conservatives, I would go in the direction of a centrist for the next leader of the Conservative Party. Because as you said, Douglas, we are more divided than we've ever been. But it does seem, at least in what we're seeing now, in McCartney gaining the traction that he has from being mostly centrist, less less left than Trudeau. obviously less right than Pierre Poilievre. Um, it does seem that there's an appetite for a more centrist type of leadership in this country. Somebody that can pull people together. That seems to be the appetite that there is in this country. So I would like to see the conservatives go the direction of a centrist. Someone with some chops, maybe someone who is not part of the establishment. Somebody fresh. I would like to see that. I think that would benefit, and the discourse at the federal level, it will certainly benefit the Conservative Party, and they can maybe finally start to shed this. I don't know how they got this reputation for being an unserious party at this point, but maybe that will help. I don't know. Douglas says our savings is all worth half. What's it's worth? Oh, our savings are all worth half what they were 10 years ago. We have $1 trillion more debt. Yay! That is right. That is a very grim picture, right? But to be fair, and we like to be fair on this channel. For those of you who are new around here, this is the Wolf of Young Street podcast. Typically I'm live on Sundays, but when something happens, crazy happens like this, I come live. I talk to you guys. You guys get in the comments. Yeah. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe. But what was I saying? To be fair, part of the problems with the currencies, these paper bills that we hold all around the place, is that their value does get eroded over time due to inflation. Inflation inflation is a natural symptom of our Fed currencies, which is why people started talking about Bitcoin and gold as a store of value. Now, has the rate of inflation been you know reasonable? At times it has been, but also at sometimes it has run away from us, which is why how we got to where we are today, right? And in terms of the you know saying that the debt, yes, the debt is really the debt is not good. It's not sustainable for sure. And for especially for what we're getting as a people, as people who pay our taxes for what we're getting, I think the government needs to tighten its reins. The government needs to do better. I can agree with that, Douglas. Coherent array waiver says even better than 35 years ago. I'm not sure what you mean though. Are you talking to Douglas? I don't know. Uh, Coherent Array Waiver says Canadians won't get a chance to see the damage that they've done voting for these far lefts. Okay, interesting, interesting. Okay, so what I want to talk about now is what do you guys think this means for McCartney? What does this mean for McCartney? What does this mean for McCartney? Because McCartney, in the lead up to this happening, has been signaling that he needs a. Okay, so Douglas says spending money we don't have erodes currency value. Printing money, they are spending money that won't be made for 50 years. Carney advised Trudeau. Okay, so you're saying that they're spending money, and I'll just address your statement there, Douglas. You're saying they're spending money that we don't, that won't be made for 50 years. Welcome to, welcome to the modern economy. When's the last time the United States, for example, didn't have a deficit? When's the last time any country around the world didn't have a deficit? Right? So that is the reality of how economies are run these days. There's very few countries around the world that you can point to, and I welcome you to point me to a few countries that have a surplus. They're not many. Now, what I think we should be more worried about is the fact that our government has a tendency to spend and not create concurrent value, which is, I think, what Makani says he will try and address. It remains to be seen whether that actually proves to be true. right? Anyways, I want to move on to the next comment here. What does this mean for McCartney? I asked. Coherent Array Waiver says he gets to be prime minister. I think he was going. He was. I think he was gonna get to be prime minister anyways, right? And and he says Coherent Array Waiver says and steal all your money. He's not touching. But what do you mean? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Well, Douglas says the USA has been spending recklessly for 200 years almost, and we are catching them in debt per capita. Our public funded services are worse than before. And that's exactly my point, Douglas, that we need the spending, and this is a kind of a shift I've tried to explain to people before. The spending is not necessarily the issue. If you're growing the economy, you know what? Spending is okay. If we're getting, if citizens are getting the better services, spending is actually not as bad as you think, right? I mean that is essentially how the United States has built what they are today, right? Spending and spending and spending, and all those, you know. So yeah, provided you're actually delivering on jobs, you're delivering on services for people, spending is really not the issue. The issue we have is that our government has a tendency to spend for very little value. Key in the fact that Justin Trudeau only reported maybe an average of 0.5% GDP growth over his 9 to 10 years in office. That's my point, right? That's my point. Anyways, I don't. Somebody check my numbers though. I said 0.5%, but I remember it was less than 1%. Um. Okay, so what's your? Who else is commenting here? Okay, okay. So that's just it there. Okay, so as I was saying, McCartney has been signaling that he wants a majority for a while, right? Steve McKinnon was even on Power and Politics on the CBC today. Steve McKinnon, by the way, I don't. I I res- I got to be careful how I say this. I think Steve McKinnon has been great as the government house leader. Like, if you're a liberal, you would absolutely love the job that Steve McKinnon is doing as the leader of the government in the house. He is absolutely torching it in that role. I feel like that role suits him like a glove. If you watch like if you watch the House of Commons, or you watch the debates, Steve McKinnon is wearing that House leader role like an absolute glove. Like he was tailor made for it. Anyways, Douglas says, and Kanye advised him for 4 years. See, the problem there is that the problem with this debate and saying that McCartney advised Trudeau for 4 years and all that, that debate has not stuck, right? Which means if that debate did not that uh, criticism did not work before the election, it is not working now. It is time that the whole Brookfield and everything, that was used heavily before the election. It has not worked, which is why I say that the strategy needs to be better. It needs to change. It needs to change. At some point, you start to sound the impression to people. You start to sound like a negative Nancy. You start to sound like a gamer, an unserious politician. If you Okay, so John Haas says, "What's the strategy to get a majority for the Liberals now? Get more floor crossers, man. Get more floor crossers. They don't need an election to get a majority now." And I want to tie this into why this is very, very dangerous for some of the other parties. McCartney did not negotiate. Let this sink in. McCartney so far has been unwilling to negotiate with any of the other parties on any of the things that he wants to do. Like on the budgets, by virtue of the fact that he is in a minority situation, he had to negotiate with the NDP or the bloc. Maybe we can all admit that the conservatives are not going to vote in, are not going to, we're never going to vote for the budget. But he chose not to negotiate with. I can understand him not negotiating with the bloc. To be fair, the bloc was. I don't know if you guys saw the request that the bloc put forward. Absolutely ridiculous. In case you're new to the channel, I personally dislike the bloc of Ecuador. This is a running theme. I hate. I shouldn't say hate. Hate is a strong word. I don't like what the bloc of Ecuador stands for. I think it's a joke. I think they're a joke of a party. I don't think the bloc should be a party in this country. QED. End of story. Anyways, every time I go off talking about the bloc of Ecuador, that is I gotta say, put that in front first. So I'm glad that McCartney did not negotiate with the bloc of Ecuador. Now with the NDP, I think there was a lot of room to negotiate with the NDP. I think that the NDP, for the most part, would have asked. I don't know what they were asking for, or if they were asking for anything. But I think they're pretty aligned, decently aligned with what the liberals are, with what the liberals are, where the liberals are in certain regards, right? Now, you know, what did the NDP request for in the budget vote? They said, "Oh, we don't want to see an austerity budget." I don't think you get to call a $78 billion budget an austerity budget. Now, Makani clearly wasn't going to give them the expansions to programs that they wanted, and maybe that was the sticking point. But oh yeah, the other thing that the NDP wanted was to be given official party status, even if they don't have the required seats to get official party status. In fact, they've been trying to convince, because obviously the liberals have been complaining about not getting the bills through parliament, through committee. The liberals have been complaining, and the NDP has been kind of, moving to them and telling them that, well, if you give us official party status and we can get into committee, then maybe we can help you pass some of these bills. It's interesting, right? Very interesting stuff. Um, yeah, let me catch up on your comments here. So, in terms of John, when you say what's the strategy for getting the majority for the liberals, just get another person to cross the floor. And at the rates it's going right now, I don't think that is beyond them. Now it would be unfortunate because they did not win that majority at the ballot. They've won it, you know, by playing politics. Won it by convincing people to cross the floor. But you know what? It is what it is. I think the conservatives need to get their house in order. I have said for myself, I think Pierre Poilievre is done. That is my opinion. I'm sure Douglas has a different opinion. Douglas really likes Pierre Poilievre. I think he's done. But with him being done, in my book, I would like to see the conservatives move on to somebody. I want to see a centrist in the Conservative Party. That's my opinion. I think that will play well very much against McCartney. You don't want somebody that is far right running against McCartney whenever the next election is. I've said the same thing too about the NDP. The NDP right now has 5 candidates, amongst whom, one of them, Avi Lewis, is very much against even LNG. Even LNG, Avi Lewis is against LNG or any form of fossil fuel, and those kinds of things. I don't think the NDP should vote that guy as the leader of their party, in my opinion. If I was a member of the NDP, I would vote for what's his face? The Labour guy. I forget his name now. Um ah uh, anyways, the Labour guy, the guy that used to be the Labour leader, I think that he's the guy to vote for. Him or Heather McPherson. Heather McPherson at least is an MP from Alberta. I think that will help them on the national stage. But not, I don't think that the NDP should go the route of an Alvin Lewis, who is a little bit further left than maybe they need, and I don't think that will help them in an election if they want to get back to relevance. Anyways, enough talk about the NDP. Uh, Douglas says Canadians have a vote, and they vote for someone who crosses the floor. This is not right. What do you mean they voted for somebody who crossed the floor? They haven't voted for somebody who crossed the floor. They voted for somebody who was contesting under the banner of the Conservative Party. Now, when the next election comes, the people in Markham Unionville, the people in Arcady Annapolis, Cosmos the Greek says this is some BS. Welcome to the show. Anyways, um, the people in Markhamville, in Unionville, Markham, the people in Arcady Annapolis, they will get to decide whether they want to vote for a floor crosser or not. But as of now, they didn't vote for a floor crosser. Now, those two MPs have said, well, they heard from their constituents, and their constituents have told them that they they side with what the Carney liberals are doing, which is why that was their justification for crossing the floor, right? Okay. Well, we'll find out if they're right about that whenever the next election is, and and so be it at that point, right? But to say the people voted for floor crosses, people did not vote for floor crosses. That's just that. Just let's just say that. Okay, so Douglas says far right. What is far right? What is far right? I would say a good example of far right is Doctor is Mr. Trump. You know, is Donald Trump. If you want a perfect example of what far right is, Donald Trump represents the far right. Coherent Array says bring back Jagged singing. Oh no, no. I think that would be worse for the NDP. Like, I don't think it was fair that the electorates punished Jagmeet Singh and the NDP to the extent that they did in the last election. Like, Jagmeet got he got you guys, dental care, pharmacare, was fighting for all these things that they forced the liberals to do. Granted, he didn't give people an election when people and he was propping up Justin Trudeau, who people did not like. I don't think bringing back Jagmeet right now will fix anything or improve anything for the NDP. This is gonna bug me now. I'm trying to remember who the labor. Somebody get in the comments. I know somebody remembers this. Who is the NDP leadership candidate? Who the guy that used to be a labor leader? He's the guy I think should. He's the guy I think should win that particular leadership race. Actually, if I was the NDP, I would put that guy up because you know what they need is somebody who can connect with workers, who can connect who can connect them to their pro worker base again. That's what the NDP needs. The NDP should get away from. Oh yeah, Rob Ashton. That's the name I was trying to remember. Rob Ashton. Rob Ashton. Yes, that's the guy I was trying to remember. I think in my mind, I think it's between him and it's between him and okay. Coherent array waiver. I'm not really sure what you're saying. Okay, so I think it is between Rob Ashton and Avi Lewis. In my sorry, not Avi Lewis. Rob Ashton and Heather McPherson. Those are the two people I would be willing to get behind for the NDP. Okay, I want to start to round up actually because we're coming to the end of our hour here. You guys get in the comments real quick. I want to read out all your comments about this. So get in the comments. So what are we saying? Poilievre got the most votes of any conservative for 40 years. He can't get voted in. If he can't get voted in, then I don't know what you are looking for. As I told you, I think people look at the raw numbers of what Pierre Poilievre did in the last election, and they stop there. Yes, he got the most votes. He got the most votes of any conservative for 40 years. But also look look at the people. He also polarized people enough that more people than almost ever voted against the idea of Pierre Poilievre. So you got to take it from both sides. You got that sounded very wrong. Sorry. Pause. Um, don't take it from both sides, Douglas. Okay. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm just messing with you. What was I saying? Um, I've lost my train of thought now. Uh, um, you gotta take the two sides of the discussion. But there's also this. Is the Conservative Party in a materially different position under Pierre Poilievre than they were under Andrew Scheer and under Erin O'Toole? Because when you think about it, the Conservatives were in a minority situation under Andrew Scheer and under Erin O'Toole. Hello, we're in the exact same situation right now. If 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 somehow if somehow Pierre Poilievre manages to gift the Liberals a majority, in fact, that would put him in a worse position than Andrew Scheer and Erin O'Toole. So you say Poilievre has done some spectacular things for the Conservative Party. Maybe he has done enough. Maybe it's time for somebody else to take the reins. Maybe he has gone as far as he will ever go. I'm just saying. I'm just putting that out there. Uh, okay. So Douglas says, wait 4 more years to voting another conservative. I don't know if we're gonna get. I mean, to be fair, if the liberals get a majority, yes, it will be 4 years, and I wouldn't bet against that. To be honest, and I've been thinking about this for a while. I don't know that Makani will stay in. I don't know that Makani will stay after 4 years of governing. I don't know that he's the kind of guy that stays long term in politics. What is he, like 60 now? I don't know that he is the kind of guy that goes and stays 10 years in politics. So we might actually be in a situation where the liberals are looking for new leadership by the end of Makani's 4 years. Think about that for a sec. Uh, okay. Coherent Array, help me out here. You're saying Chow from Toronto, mayor of Toronto. Oh, you're saying without the boomers, Makani doesn't win. Well, I mean, I'd love to see a poll. Somebody should do a poll on how the boomers are feeling about Makani these days. I want to see that poll. And I mean, how is everybody feeling about Makani these days? I'm going to tell you this because I don't want to be negative all through this thing. I I have some optimism that I want to see, and I hope with all my heart. I'm not one of those haters for just to hate. I hope with all my heart that Makani is actually a rousing success. I'm not attached to the idea of a conservative or of a liberal. All I want to see ultimately is value for the taxes I pay. What I want to see is jobs, choices for people, especially the younger ones coming up. What I want to see is jobs. What I want to see is, you know, the very best for the people. For the people. I have the political answer there. Anyways, it's been an interesting show tonight. What else did I want to cover for you? Um, yeah. So as I was saying, just to conclude here, what does this mean for Mark Carney? I think this means that, especially if the Carney Liberals get a majority, you will see them. Okay. Okay, so Coherent Array is asking me whether I believe McCartney is going to do that. I'll put this the way I've always put it. If Marconi does not succeed, Canada is absolutely fucked. Okay? Canada is absolutely fucked if Marconi does not succeed over the next 4 years. So it is important that, whether it's by pulling together or by, whatever we need to do to ensure that Marconi does not fail, he cannot fail. Now, on whether I am optimistic about Marconi, um, whether I'm optimistic about Marconi or not, I I think that there are some things I've liked, and I'll tell you what I like about the current iteration of the Carney liberals. They are not. They're different to the Trudeau liberals in the sense that they are not. They don't seem, at least on the surface, to be wedded to an idea. I mean, if you can admit that and you can, and we all, everybody who has eyes will see that they take policies that seem to be conservative and they are trying to implement some of those. Maybe not to the extent that if you're Poilievre would, uh, maybe not to the extent, uh, maybe not. Coherence. Array waiver says, mind your language. Use cooked. I should use cooked. I should use cooked. Yeah. I should. Sometimes the emotion gets the better of me and I start swearing. You're right. I should use cooked. I'll go bleach my mouth out after this. Anyways, where was I? Um, do I believe that that McCartney is actually going to do the things he says? I'm optimistic, and I'll tell you, as I said, I'm optimistic because he seems to be open to taking ideas that would typically be considered conservative. And I mean, right now we've seen that they're working on things like bill reform, which are things that conservatives have been clamoring on for years now. Whether you think the conservative solution is practical or not, the liberals are now taking action. Some of those actions are actually pretty conservative, like the imposition of minimum jail time for certain offenses, like the imposition of minimum jail time for certain offenses. Certainly, some of the things in the MOU that we saw with Alberta would never have happened under Justin Trudeau. They have, and most people, and I've said this before, a lot of people with the MOU, they focus on the possibility of a pipeline. But there's more to that MOU, by my reading, than just a pipeline. Think about it. Alberta now has the ability to expand its export of oil and gas, of bitumen, through the TMX pipeline, because now this was previously not a thing that was necessarily on the table or being discussed, but now Alberta has the opportunity to expand production, to expand the capacity of the TMX pipeline. That wasn't on the table before, right? The clean energy regulations was one of those things that made way this time. That negotiation, that little give and take there, I think a lot of people are so focused on a new pipeline that they've missed some of the little things that were around that MOU. Now, as I said, that makes me very optimistic in that sense. As Coherent Array says, economy, sorry to break it to you, nothing will change. Come on, you can't be like that. You can't be like that. You gotta, you. I mean, it's been a year. It's been a year. We can revisit this in another year or so. We'll know for sure then. Uh, we'll know where we're at that point. Coherent Array says I'm going to be disappointed. I hope I'm not, because as I said, we would be. You said not to say that word. We would be cooked. We would be cooked. Uh, we would be cooked if Makani fails, because I mean, look at where we are now. People are struggling to find jobs. Where the economy is not growing as it should. The value of money is absolutely shit. You know, we hope that Makani does not fail. He should not fail. Okay. No pressure. No, all the pressure actually. All the pressure. Please don't feel. Uh, Coherent Array asks, economy-wise, do you think he's going to do it? There are signs, to be fair, that things are improving in some regards. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw. Obviously, unemployment is coming down. It has been coming down for a few months now. More jobs are being created. Uh, they also the economy actually grew in last quarter. We're looking at a little bit more growth these days. Our exports outside the United States are actually growing as well. So not to be pessimistic about everything all the time, there are some signs that are not as depressing. I mean, it's taking time. It's been slow, but there are some signs that are not as depressing as you might think about the economy. Now, next year, and this is going to be critical for Makani, next year when we go to negotiate the new COSME agreements, who knows what the Orange Man is going to try and do? Who knows? Who knows how if he's going to rip off the COSME agreements? I think, by the way, again, mark my words here. At the very least, Donald Trump is going to try and impose baseline tariffs on Canadian goods into that COSME agreement, if there is a COSME agreement. Obviously, we've heard from the Trump team that they might seek to pursue, they might pursue bilateral agreements, separate agreements with like Mexico and with Canada separately, so that they can obviously press their advantage. Coherent Array Waiver says COSMA is over, probably. With what is going on with the Trump administration right now, well, to be fair, I gotta talk to you about this. Coherent error maneuver, actually, letting it expire doesn't do what you think it does. Even if he lets it expire, the Cosmo agreement doesn't expire until 2036. So I mean, the best he will do is violate the agreement like he has been so far, by imposing tariffs that are unconstitutional, that are not unconstitutional but illegal. I think it's basically unconstitutional because he has done these by drawing on emergency powers that in something that really isn't an emergency. He has fabricated an emergency so he can impose these tariffs without Congress. That's where we are. So even if he lets it expire, the Cosmo agreement doesn't expire till 2036. So that concept doesn't really, he will be. I imagine that Trump might not be all the. Well, I shouldn't say it. I shouldn't say that. That's going to get me in trouble. But Trump will be long gone by then. I don't mean anything will happen to him. He will remain hit and hearty well into his 90s. Okay. But he certainly won't be in power. He certainly won't be in power. He certainly won't be in power by 2036. Knock on wood. Cross my fingers. Cross everything I've got. Daffy Kane says Canada is lost. The reasonable Canadians I knew no longer exist. How Canadians can keep Trudeau and Carney in power, I don't know. Well, technically, Carney is not being kept in power. Technically, Carney just got here, right? So, Canadians have not had a chance to either keep. Canadians have not had a chance to keep or reject Carney, which is why, as I said, Pierre Poilievre should never have been left himself in a position where his abstentions within the Conservative Party propped up the Liberals. He should have let the NDP make that decision during the budget vote. I said at the time that was a mistake. So Harry Ray says 8 more years of Trump. Hope not, man. That would be absolutely brutal. That would be so brutal. Anyways, it's been a fun show tonight. I want to roll the credits real quick before I get out of here. Thank you, Coherent Array Waiver, for your comments tonight. Dafid Kane, thank you for your comments tonight. Who else am I crediting here? Douglas. Douglas, I know you're conservative at heart. You're welcome here to this channel. I take no issue with whatever political affiliations you guys have. Come. I welcome everybody. That is what this channel is. We have discussions. We debate. With respect with to one another. And all for good. I guess that's what we try and do on this channel. If you're new around here, subscribe. Thank you, Cosmos the Greek. Even if you said this is some BS, I'm not BSing. I'm just analyzing it as I see it. It is what it is. Uh, Thank you, John Haas. You came in for with one comment here, and you asked what is the strategy to get a majority for the liberals. That one was a simple question there. The simple one is just do nothing and yet another floor crosser. That is the strategy. Lawrence Jeffrey, thank you for your comment tonight. Abby, thank you for your comment tonight. Who else was here? Mary Campbell. Although you didn't, although you came in and insulted our community here. Thank you for joining the conversation. You said you can't believe people watch this channel. You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. 1,000 people, 1,000 people tune in to hear the discussions that we have on this channel, and we're growing. We're growing. We're a small channel. We started, just making simple videos talking about stuff, and here we are. Here we are, all this months later. So that's what it is. We don't look down on ourselves on this channel. Braveheart as well. You're also all of you, all of you, all of you have been absolute legends tonight. Code you fair, code you fair. Yeah, you missed the show. You missed the show. But yeah, no, get in the comments though. Even if you're not watching live, get in the comments. I respond to every single comment, even the negative ones, as you guys have seen, right? I respond to every single comment because the purpose of this channel is for us to have these discussions. The purpose of this channel is for us to have debates. Anyways, I just came back from work and started the show. So I'm gonna go have dinner now. It's been a wild day, guys. You guys have a good night. You guys have a good night. Uh I have these shows every Sunday. I'm live at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So if you missed this one, just join me for the next one and the next one after that. Comment on every video or any video that interests you. We have amazing discussions. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Have a good night, guys.